Well, guys, after a very long season that felt like it took forever to end, finally we have approached the end of Girl Meets World Season 2, and this is going to be my review for Girl Meets World Season 2, Episode 30, Girl Meets Legacy. Now, let me just say, I don't have a problem with them stretching out this season, I really don't, but it is about time that this ends. I mean, this was getting ridiculously long, definitely. The amount of episodes they've had out of order has been outrageous, the amount of stuff they've had to the amount of episode orders they had to change, the amount of waits we had to wait. I mean, just everything. All the bullshit with the season is really been, in my opinion, very unnecessary. However, I was really looking forward to this episode. I mean, because I knew that this, after Girl Meets the Bay Window, I'm like, I can't wait for the finale. Girl Meets the Bay Window was very emotional, was a very hard episode to watch at points, and this episode I was really looking forward to. I was really hoping, though, that it would be an hour long, because this is something where it seemed like they should have taken an hour long and focused on the central plot, which that's what this episode did. This episode did focus on the central plot, which I was happy about, but it was only 23 minutes without commercials, which I don't necessarily have a problem with because Girl Meets World usually half an hour and they do things very well. But I will say, I do think this episode should have been an hour long, definitely will say that. With that said, this was a very good finale. I really did enjoy this episode. I thought this was a very, very strong finale overall, and I like that nothing's really resolved in this finale. A lot of people have talked about, oh, this finale had no resolution. That's not the point of this season. This season's not about getting to resolution. This season is about them growing up and them starting to understand themselves more. That's really what this season's been all about. But let's get into this finale, because of course I have a lot to say, and this is probably going to be a long review, because I have a lot to say about this episode. So, we start off in the beginning, we see Lucas, and I love the meta where he's talking to Maya and Riley about how long it felt since New Year's, because it has been a long time since that episode Girl Meets New Year's. I mean, it's been December since we've actually focused on that, so I don't have a problem with that, because you guys know I really like the way they're handling that. I think they're handling it in a very realistic direction. But Lucas having all those cards, I mean, I can understand. It's very hard for him to get the words out. He literally had to write stuff down because he doesn't know what to do. And he wants to talk about, of course, what happened at New Year's, but it's clear that Riley and Maya don't want to. They don't really know what to do. And it's gotten to the point where even Corey wants an answer. I mean, really, it seems like at this point, everyone wants an answer. Everyone wants to know what's going on, and they don't really know what to do. And I like what Lucas brought up, that he really cares about both of them, and, they're both really great, that there are things about Riley that he loves, or things about Maya that he loves, but the main worry is that they're not going to be together, and that's the thing. They've had this bond. This entire show, there's been a bond with Riley, Maya, Lucas, and Farkle, but mainly Riley, Maya, and Lucas. Lucas will always be there for them. Lucas, they wouldn't have to fight over him, and he doesn't want to take one of them because he feels it's going to ruin the bond, and I really like the way they're handling that, because it's a very mature way to look at the situation. I mean, these are friends that, yeah, something could ruin it. I mean, that's kind of, you take one away, then Riley could get jealous, or Maya could get jealous, and he doesn't want to start any drama. That's really what it's all about. He doesn't want to start anything between them, and I just felt really bad for Lucas. Like I've said before, Lucas is in the worst position here because he has to choose between two people who he really cares about, and he doesn't want to have to choose, and he really wants to make a decision, but he doesn't really know what to do. And I think what I like about this episode is that we really did focus on how Lucas felt about this entire thing. And I said in the New Year's, Girl Meets the New Year, that Lucas really, I think, is very torn. And you see that in this episode that, yeah, that's exactly the case. He has no idea what he's going to do. And I like seeing that Lucas is just as lost. He doesn't really have anyone in mind. He doesn't really know what to do. And I like seeing that. I thought they handled all that really well. Definitely. And you can tell this is really changing Riley and Maya. They're really trying to stay best friends. They're trying to stay close to each other. But there are so many things going on with them, physically, psychologically, and they're changing so much that it's very hard for these two to just stay friends and, be able to have that bond that they've had this entire show. It's very hard for them to do that, and I like the way they handle that here because, again, that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, they both like this guy. They know that, if he were to choose either of them, things could end up really badly, and they don't want that to happen. They don't want to think about the consequences, and that's why Lucas isn't making a choice, because he doesn't want to have to deal with these consequences, because he just cares about them so much that he can't really do anything. He can't really, say yes or no to them, and it's sad to see, really. Definitely, it's sad to see. But then we see at school, we get to the real subject of this episode. We see Corey. He's teaching all of them about legacy. Now that they are graduating, they're going to focus on what kind of legacy they want to leave behind, which is very important. I mean, graduating middle school doesn't seem like a huge thing, but it is, because you keep on that legacy, and the people who you meet in middle school you might see in high school, and they'll be like, oh, you were that kid, or you were this person. Who do they really want to be as they leave John Adams John Adams Middle School? What do they want to be? And Corey asks where Farkle is, and Riley explains that Einstein Academy stole Farkle, and they stole Einstein's Academy's goose. Corey then asks where Zay is, and Lucas tells him that he went back to Texas for Vanessa's spring formal. And I like that we got an update, because we've had a severe lack of Zay. Now, I heard it's because the actor that played Zay actually got hurt, and he wasn't able to film the last few episodes, but I like that they actually gave a reason for Zay not being there, because it did feel weird that he hasn't been there the past couple episodes. So Corey gets into the lesson. He asks the class, what he wants, what they're going to leave behind. And he asks them to think about not just what they've gotten from the school, but what they're going to leave behind. The friendships that they've made, things like that. And Farkle returns to class, asks him why they didn't save him. Riley says they looked for him for 5 minutes and took the goose. I thought that was pretty funny. And Maya says the goose is the new Farkle. Lucas calls him Donnie Barnes, regular goose. And I thought that was really great. I definitely really enjoyed that. There wasn't a whole lot for Farkle to do in this episode, but I thought they handled that. I did think they did some good stuff with him here, definitely. I mean, Farkle probably is the one person that doesn't have a lot of drama to deal with, really. He doesn't. I mean, he's kind of the mediator right now. He was in the new year, but now things have kind of calmed down, and Farkle, I think, really doesn't have much to deal with. I mean, he has a very supportive girlfriend who is perfect for him and really cares about him, which, that was my one thing with this episode. We didn't get any moments between Smackle and Farkle, and it's one of my favorite moments in the show. I mean, those two just work so well together, and I really want to see some more moments between them, but we didn't get that in this episode. I'm assuming we'll get that in Season 3, because Smackle is going to be in Season 3, but that's something that I think the show would have benefited from had this been an hour-long episode. They just could have done more, because I really feel like that's what they should have done. So Riley then goes home, and I like what she tells Corey. She's not upset that she's graduating. She's upset that Corey hasn't taught her enough. That's really what it's about. She feels that there's still much for him to teach her, and Riley worries about everything getting harder after middle school, especially with what's going on with Lucas and Maya, and that, she shouldn't, she's very worried about what's going to change, because she just thinks they're not ready to go off to high school. There's so much for them to deal with. They can't really, there's no resolution. Nothing's getting resolved, and they're just not ready for this, and they need to, maybe stay in middle school, and obviously they can't do that. They're graduating. It's just something that's not going to happen, and they're going to graduate, and Riley needs to understand that. I understand, and, obviously that's what Corey's trying to tell her, that, look, you're going to graduate, there's nothing you can do about it, and you just gotta face it, that's what's gonna happen. Unfortunately, that's not obviously what Riley wants, but that's just the consequence, that she's gonna graduate no matter what, and there's nothing she can really do about it, unfortunately. So that kind of sucks. But then, what's even more devastating is seeing Maya come in, just crying, and, Topanga saying nothing can break her. Well, Maya enters the apartment, she's really upset, she's barely able to stand, and, I mean, it's funny, but it's also really sad, because you see that Maya really is taking this very hard. She doesn't know what to do, and Topanga pulls her into a hug. Lucas arrives, says that he's made a decision, and Miley and Riley both mean too much to him for him to choose one. He just can't choose either of them, because they mean too much, and I understand. I mean, yeah, he's not really giving them an answer, but that's what's making them so upset. They want a genuine answer, and he's not giving it to them, because he can't really choose between the two of them. They're two great people, and he doesn't want to ruin the bond. That's really what it's about. He doesn't know what to do. So he basically attempts to treat them exactly equally in order to preserve their friendship. He tells Maya that, he looked at Riley, so he's looking at her to even it up, and Maya replies that a girl loves to be looked at, to be evened up, and Lucas tells her that they're just friends, and that he loves her outfits, and, it's a very interesting scene, the way this was done. I mean, they're not even talking to each other. Like, it's this bad. They're not even talking to each other. They got their desks turned around. Riley's, like, out in the hall. They're not even talking to each other. And I will say, I do think this scene was a bit over the top. top, mainly just because of how realistic everything else has been. This to me was very over the top. I wasn't as into it as I wanted to be, and I'm like, really, this is the direction you take it? I just didn't think, I felt it was very Disney Channel, and that to me, moments like that, I remember I'm watching a Disney Channel show, and I don't want to. I mean, a lot of this show doesn't feel like a Disney Channel show, but moments like that really do, and I was not a fan of that, I have to say. Really, please don't do a scene like that again, because I really wasn't a fan of it, I have to say, so I did not like that. But it is very interesting that we see what's going on there. I mean, things are just very awkward between Riley, Maya, and Lucas. You see that they're really not talking to each other at all. But then we get to this whole thing with Riley, and she tells Corey straight out that I don't want to graduate. I don't want to leave. And she doesn't want to leave, and it's a very big scene, but I think Riley's points made a lot of sense. Definitely, I mean, Riley's points I think were very valid, in the sense that Riley talks about how there's gonna be a lot of changes in high school, and honestly, it's a scary feeling to go from the top of the school to a little fish. I mean, obviously it's very hard for her to deal with. Now she's 8th grade, she's like the big she's like the top grade of the school. Everyone looks up to her, and they set the example for everyone. But then she's gonna be a freshman. She has all these people to look up to and things like that. And she doesn't really want to have to do that. And that's very much something I can relate to. I mean, I was in 8th grade once, of course, and I remember that when you're in 8th grade, you think you're the coolest thing ever. You really do. Then you get to freshman year and you realize you're not such hot shit after all. But that's kind of how it is, and then next year, I'll be a senior in high school, and again, it's probably going to be the same way. That's just really how it is. And in life, that's how it is. You guys start from the bottom and work your way to the top. And it's clearly something that Riley doesn't want to do. She doesn't want to go back. She doesn't want to go back. She wants to stay at the top, and she doesn't want to go back to the bottom. And honestly, I think it's a genuine, I think it's a genuine thing that Riley's talking about. I honestly can understand what she's talking about there. I don't think it's immature. I think it makes sense what Riley was talking about, and I like that they really did get into this. I did find it weird that she was talking to Corey like he was her teacher. I thought that was really weird. Definitely, I will say that. But I did like the way that scene was done overall, with her saying that, he hasn't taught her enough and that she still wants to learn more. A good scene overall, but again, I do feel it would have benefited a bit more if it had been just a little bit longer. But then we get some really great scenes of everyone saying goodbye to a teacher that they really cared about. Maya says goodbye to that art teacher that she always believed in, and the art teacher tells her that she has a very bright future and she always believed in her. It's a really good scene to take Maya on. I mean, Maya definitely, out of anyone this season, I think Maya's been the one that truly has progressed the most. I mean, she's really changed from this not very confident girl who has a passion but doesn't really utilize it, and doesn't really realize how great of a passion she has for the arts, to a girl who's a lot more confident. And that clearly is who Maya is. That's definitely going to be who she is in high school, and I think they really showed that very well here. Then we get a scene with Farkle and the science teacher from Girl Meets STEM, which I found to be a bit unnecessary. I thought it was pretty funny. They didn't really have much to say. But what I really liked was the scene between Harley and Lucas, and how Lucas talks about how Harley made him remember so much, and Harley really helped him out with the stories that he told. It's very interesting, and Lucas thanks him. I thought it was very interesting. He tells him that, thanks for saying goodbye. That's why he's, saying thank you for saying goodbye. Even though Harley's a janitor, and Harley's like, why do you care about me? Why'd I leave an impression on you? I'm just some janitor. And we know that Harley's always thought, little of himself. He doesn't really have much confidence in himself. But just, him saying thank you is enough of a reason for Lucas to be happy, and for Lucas to be like, what, that's someone I'll never forget, because he cares about them. That's the thing. This is a janitor that works so effortlessly, and, has this job that he probably doesn't want and wants other jobs out there, but he cares about he cares about his students, and he cares about the people that are in the school, and Lucas just seeing that, it just made him think that's someone he'll never forget, and it's just a really sweet scene. I like the way that was done. Really good stuff there, and I definitely enjoyed that. So, Corey then talks to Riley, Maya, Farkle, and Lucas, and we get this great scene where they kind of reminisce on some of the lessons they've learned. So Corey can show them that I have made impact on you, I have made you remember things. Like, we go back to Secret of Life and then Sneak Attack, and they relate. And what I liked is that they talked about the context in history and then related it to their life, which I thought was really cool, and I really like the way that was done. Definitely really good stuff there. I really did appreciate that. And then basically he tells them that they just need one last test, and they end up passing the test, and then they basically tells them that now you graduate, you move forward, and that's just how it works. You graduate, you move forward, you don't worry about, what's ahead, you think forward, and that's clearly what they need to do. And even though they don't want to do that, that's what they have to do. And it's sad to see, but definitely it's a very bittersweet scene. I like the way that was done, and I like that Maya really thanked him, because Maya, Corey really helped out Maya, and she says that she's so happy of who she's become, and she said that they made it through high school, and they decide to, basically their legacy, they decide to give the underclassmen, who's going to be 6th graders next year, a tour of the entire school, and then present them a new bench that they can sit on to kind of remember the class and everything, and that any 8th graders can sit on, which I thought was really cool the way they did that. I definitely really did appreciate that scene, and especially legacy, you want to leave a good impact. I like that they did that, and I definitely really did appreciate that. Really good stuff there. So then we go to graduation, and Zay's back, and I love the scene between Zay and Lucas, because Zay is not at all focused on what's going on with Lucas. He's not all focused on it, and I'm not going to call it a love triangle, because that's not what it is. It's a situation that they just don't know what to do with. That's really what it is. It's not a love triangle, because Miley, this is not Hannah Montana, I always do that. Maya and Riley are not fighting over Lucas. Yeah, they both want Lucas and they both want to be with him, but they're not fighting over him. And Lucas doesn't know who to pick. It's not really a love triangle. Michael Jacobs has said that, and I would agree. This is not a love triangle. What this is a three, kids trying to figure out really what they are. Are they friends, or are they more? Are Maya and Lucas friends, or are they more? And Riley and Lucas, what are they really? That's something that they haven't figured out yet, and I like that they don't figure it out in this episode. And Lucas still, by the end of this episode, does not have a decision. He says to Zay, I really don't know what I'm going to do, but Zay just tries to cheer him up, and I like that Zay's just that friend that's trying to help him out. And even though he's not focused, and I think he's trying to tell Lucas, look man, it's not really that big of a deal right now. You need to look forward, you need to not focus on this as much, because there are other things that are going to happen, and we're going to high school. Look forward. Don't worry about what's not finished. There's time to finish it. We're going to be in high school. We're going to be able to cross that bridge when we get there. And I like the way that scene was done. I did hear that Zay's going to play a much more substantial role in Season 3, which I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does in Season 3. Because I think I really have loved Zay as a character. You guys know that I've really loved Zay's character, and I think he's done a very good job. And I definitely really did enjoy that, I have to say. Definitely, and the way that he asked Lucas if he wants to choose him or Farkle, I thought was very funny. And then the scene between Maya and Katie, very interesting scene here, because Katie says how proud of her she is, and Maya says, well, you graduated middle school, and Katie says that she did, but I think Katie's just happy that Maya's turning out well. She's going straight. She's not doing anything illegal. She's not, doing drugs or anything like that. She's becoming a really good kid, and that's something that Katie's very happy about. And Katie knows that it's not her that should be proud of it. It's Sean and Corey and Riley. They are the ones that have really helped Maya. And even though Katie's been, I think, a very good mother for Maya, she knows she can't do a lot of it on her own. She doesn't have the money. That's why she has Sean, who I was hoping we'd see this episode and didn't. We were also supposed to see Morgan this episode. We didn't see her either. We do see Minkus. We do see him, which was cool. I like seeing that. But then we get to the one scene this episode where I really was not happy with. I mean, I was hoping this wouldn't happen. I really was like, really? They had to do this? I understand this was meta. I understand that Boy Meets World did it, but Boy Meets World did this as a joke. This just felt kind of unnecessary. Because Riley, Maya, Lucas, and Farkle, they all tell Corey that they have their senior prank and that they've stolen something. And Corey's like, what'd they steal? And they said, we stole the real mascots. And basically, they tell him that they signed a petition, they got him a new position, he's now going to be working at the high school, just like Mr. Feeney did, and because he still has a lot more to teach them. Here's my thing with this. Corey is Riley's dad. Farkle, Lucas, and Maya are all friends of Riley. They can see Riley literally whenever they want. Corey will be there to give them advice. I mean, that's really what it's going on there. I really didn't want Corey to go to high school. I really wanted them to do something different. I really wanted them to give him something, to do that wasn't like that. And I really wanted him to have to deal with that, idea of, oh shit, I'm not going to high, my daughter's going to high school. I'm not going to be there. And we really didn't get to see that in this episode. We really get to see things in Corey's perspective, which that's something else I really want. I heard during this episode this was going to be more of a Corey-centric episode, and it really wasn't. I mean, we got scenes with Corey, but they were always in Riley's perspective. That's really what the scene was about. It was about going forward with Riley, and we really didn't get to see a scene of Corey being like, my daughter's going off to high school, and I'm not going to be there with her. I really want to see a scene like that, and we didn't get to see that. So Corey's going to high school with them, whatever. I'm sure I'll be fine with this when season 3 comes around, but right now, I just found it very lazy. I found it very lazy, I found it very predictable, and I found it very unnecessary. I don't really think the show needed to do that, and for me, kind of killed some of the episode, but I do love the way this episode ends, with Lucas coming in, and him asking, do you still like me? And Maya and Riley asking, do we still like him? Because they don't really know what they are. They don't know if this is just a random crush, or if this is just something that happened overnight, or if they still have these feelings. They don't really know what's going on. The way the episode ends with them just standing there, and Riley just saying so, it really shows that they don't really know where they're headed, and they don't really know where this whole thing is going to go, if they're going to be successful, if they're going to get together, if they have a future, even if they're going to just remain friends. They don't really know what's going to happen, and I like that, because now they have to face that in high school. They're not worried about it, though. They know that it's something they have to deal with, but they're going to move forward. They're going to move forward because there are other things to deal with, and they know that, and I love the way that the episode ended because of that. So overall, guys, amazing finale. Really, a great finale. I really did enjoy it, but like I said, I do think it would have benefited more had it been just a bit longer. There could have been some more emotional scenes. We could have gotten some more context. Topanga had really nothing to do in this episode, and that kind of sucked. I kind of wanted to see more of her. Augie really didn't have much to do. And like I said, Morgan was supposed to come back and never came back, and that's something I don't really understand why they did that. So yeah, but overall, guys, I really did enjoy this season. You guys know, I think this season has been so much better than season 1. Now, if you guys don't count all the episodes that they aired out of order, this is a great season. It really is. This was the season of growth in every way. Every character grew, every character wised up, and every character realized that they can't keep living life the way they are, and there are going to be other challenges in life that they need to face, and they realized that this season. And that's been this entire season. This entire season has been about these characters growing up, and that's really what they did, and I love the way they handled all that, I gotta say. That's definitely my favorite part of this season, is seeing all these characters grow up, seeing their evolutions, things like that. Very good stuff. I definitely really did enjoy that. Giving more for Maya to do, and making Farkle also a lot less comic relief. I thought they did a very good job with that. There wasn't much humor in this episode, which I honestly was very happy about. Girl Meets World, I think, works best when you kind of cut back on that. The humor's good in Girl Meets World. Girl Meets World can be a very fun show at times, but it can also be a very insightful show, and I really feel when they cut back on the humor and focus more on the subject of what they're really talking about, that's when the show is at its best. It can really get points across very well. It can really tug at my heartstrings, and I gotta say, there were a few scenes where I was on the verge of tears. I really was. I mean, the scene where you see them remembering all their lessons, it's a tough scene to watch. It really is, but I love the way that they handled it. I think everything was really done beautifully in this episode. And overall, as a whole, like I said, I really did enjoy this season. Did it go on a bit too long? Yeah, the main problem with this season is that everything was out of order. Not a lot of these episodes were, well, especially towards the back half of the season, a lot of them were aired out of order. And I really hope that Michael Jacobs doesn't do this next year, because it really confused me. And, I really feel we could have seen the correct order. And I really hope when they put it on Netflix that they put in the correct order, because this entire season, like I said, was told out of order. And it's not, well, not the entire season, like the back half was definitely out of order, you could tell, but mainly because the Halloween episode, which I don't even want to talk about those, but I can't wait for Season 3. Going forward, I think Season 3 is going to be an amazing season. I think Season 3 is going to be the season of changes, it's going to be the season of transitions, and I heard they're going to be dealing with a lot more mature storylines. Like, this is the end of the kiddish Girl Meets World. Now, do I think they're getting into things like drugs and drinking and sex? Boy Meets World had a way of doing it, but being very secretive and not being over explicit. And I do feel that Girl Meets World can do that. The problem is it's on Disney Channel, so I don't know if they'll be able to face these issues. I'm gonna say we're gonna have to wait till June 3rd, which that is when the show is coming back, which isn't that much far away. June 3rd, I can wait till then. That's perfectly fine for me. But overall, guys, let me know what you guys saw this season. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I really did enjoy this season overall. I can't believe it's over, honestly. As long as the season was, it really did go by fast for me, because you guys know I always loved this show. There have been episodes that were better than others. There were definitely some duds. Girl Meets Fish, Girl Meets Communism, Girl Meets, whatever that Halloween episode was. Those were terrible, honestly. But all the episodes that really taught lessons, and all the episodes that really made us think about things, those are the episodes I remember, and those are the episodes I applaud Girl Meets World for. And I really do have to give credit to the show for getting into these issues, for dealing with things like poverty, and things like, the things they dealt with this season, everything they dealt with. These are things that Disney Channel is not afraid, doesn't want to deal with, and this episode did that, and this season in general did that really well, and I really do commend the show for doing that. So going forward, I'm really looking forward to season 3. I can't wait to see what happens in season 3. Definitely, it's going to be a very different kind of show. I definitely know that. I mean, I'm sure we're going to have the same character dynamics, but the characters themselves, I mean, they are far from the developed. They have no idea what's about to come their way. They have no idea what adventures they're going to embark in high school, and we'll have to see what happens next. I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen with that. But overall, guys, I know what you guys saw this season. Love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for the mid-season premiere of Awkward, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.